This may be the most important video I've ever done, and I'll tell you why. Because in this video, I'm going to tell you the real reason why doing the inner work matters. I'm going to tell you the real reason why everything I talk about, everything I write about, my Today's Tough Love reels, I'm going to tell you the real reason why all of that matters so fucking much. Here's the thing. As humans on this planet, everyone walks around with their own special cocktail of wounding, of stuff they picked up from childhood, of things that happened to them, traumas, big and small, impacts that got internalized in our system. Everyone has it. Everyone has it. And some people deal with that very differently. Some of those things come out at other people. They come out on other people. The way that you strengthen yourself against their wounding is going into yours. It's going into the voices that tell you you're not enough. It's going into the voices that are in the deepest part of you that maybe have been internalized over the years. It's usually some version of not being enough. And that internal talk track is what leaves us vulnerable to other people. Listen, that does not mean you deserve that. Absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are people in this world who do not have your best interest at heart. And rather than walking around with barbed wire and Doberman up all the time, because that's no way to live for you, you doing the inner work and becoming so clear on yourself and becoming so clear on what your own triggers are and becoming so clear on your own healing work and really, really coming into trust with yourself. That is the way that you steel yourself against these things. And I don't say any of this lightly, because this one I definitely had to learn the hard way. My internal stories about myself, an accumulation of a lifetime's worth of stuff I hadn't dealt with, my own wounds around relationships, my own wounds around my self-worth, left me vulnerable to being in a deeply unhealthy relationship. Now, I am not a psychiatrist, so I am not comfortable formally diagnosing people, but I can tell you, I know what narcissistic rage is, I know what gaslighting is. I didn't ever want to know what any of these terms are. These are very serious terms. They also get thrown around rather flippantly on the internet, so to the best of my ability, I do not use those terms because I feel that they have been overused, and therefore it takes away from the actual truth of what those things mean. And here's the real thing. We can't look at everyone in our life and just automatically know, whoo, they got some deep wounding, they got some tendencies, so I'm gonna steer clear. And it's also not good for us to live constantly with our walls up. Not just walls. I'm not talking about boundaries. I'm talking about living with the barbed wire and Dobermans. And so how you steel yourself against people whose woundings come out in a particular way is you go deep into your inner work and you go deep into your healing journey. Because when you own everything that's within you, and no, it doesn't happen overnight, but that process of going deep and understanding those things about yourself and deeply doing the work to heal those things, that is what will steel you against people who would be emotionally, verbally abusive. This is why this work is so important. It's not just a fluffy surface level, love yourself, and everything will be sunshine and unicorns. No, it's acknowledging that all of us as human beings walk around with crap inside. And oftentimes that crap will leave us vulnerable to other people's toxic wounding. And that is why, among so many other reasons, I am so adamant about the work that I do. It's why I oftentimes say things that are going to trigger the ever-loving fuck out of you. And I don't say any of those things lightly either. Everything I talk about, I learned myself because I had to be beaten down to the floor in my dark night of the soul, where I didn't want to be on this planet anymore because it was so bad for me to then take the breath and go, I'm going to fight my way out of this, and I'm going to figure out how the hell I got here. And I am going to figure out how I let one person get in my head so much that I didn't want to be here anymore. And that is why I talk about everything I talk about. That is why I get up every day. Because all these things about self-love, about knowing your worth, about feeling enough, about boundaries, about knowing your triggers, working through your triggers, feeling your feelings, everything I say about how no one can make you feel, ooh, that triggered y'all, how no one can make you feel any type of way, the power and the importance of having courage, all these things I talk about come from that experience. And this is why, no matter where you are on the journey, going inward and owning the things in your past that you may not be proud of, that you may have shame around, that may not have been your fault, but that happened to you, going in and doing that work. I didn't say it was going to be easy, but I did say it's going to be worth it. Because when you come out on the other side and no one can tell you something about you that isn't true, that is a new level of freedom. Because let me ask you this. I have dark blonde hair, depending on how many highlights I've gotten. I used to be the type of person in relationship that if my partner came up and said, "Your hair is purple," I would have gone, "Is my hair purple? Maybe my hair is purple." Which sounds like a silly example. When you deeply know what's true for you and you deeply own what's true for you, no one else can mess with you. And what I mean by that is if you know deep in your heart who you really are and what you stand for, and listen, none of this means that we're perfect. We're not perfect. Humans are perfectly imperfect, and we're going to continue to be perfectly imperfect. But how you make sure that you steel yourself against anybody out there that doesn't have your best interest at heart and that might be prone to causing you emotional harm is you get really clear for yourself on who you really are. And you get really clear on what your personal triggers are. And you get really, really clear on what boundaries really are. And you get really clear on your own love and your own gratitude for yourself, no matter where you are, no matter what the voice in your head is. All these things that I talk about are for that reason. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is all for that reason. So that everyone that wants to do that work has the knowledge of how to do it. Everyone who wants to take the step to heal all those things inside, who wants to take the step to improve their life, who wants to take that moment on the floor when they're in a crumpled mess and go, "I'm ready to rise from this," knows how to do it. They know the steps, they know the pitfalls, they know the process. Because it is so vitally important that we each take responsibility for healing our inner world. Because when we heal our inner world, we are no longer vulnerable to other people who have not healed theirs. Sparkle on.